Hey, this is Johnny from Estuary, and today I'm going to show off some of the SQL transformation capabilities that are possible within Estuary Flow. So just to kind of set up the problem that we're going to be looking at. So in our dashboard, you may notice that there's a demo capture and collections from Wikipedia. These are captures of all of the changes that are happening across Wikipedia properties. So this is like Wikipedia and other Wikimedia websites. And these are all landed into this collection, Wikipedia recent change. So this is literally every edit that users are making across Wikipedia sort of captured live. And just to give you a sense of what this looks like, the actual documents that are coming from Wikipedia essentially are combinations of like the user who's making the change, the name of the page that they're changing, a timestamp, and a few other properties. So it's basically an event that represents like a Wikipedia page that was changed. And so the problem statement here is we want to take all of these changes that are happening across Wikipedia, and we want to build sort of a user-centric understanding of like, what are the changes that an individual user is making? When did we first see them make a change? What's the last one they did? What are some of the recent pages that they've changed? So we're going to be working with this sampled collection of Wikipedia data. It's basically the same data. It's just kind of sampled down. It's like a 3% sample or so. And just to give the punchline away, this is what we're going to be building. This is a Google Sheet, which is updating live in real time as Wikimedia users are making changes across the site. So we're seeing sort of the first time that we saw a user, as well as the most recent time, and then some of the pages that they've most recently changed, as well as the total number of edits that they've made. Okay, so I'm in the Flow dashboard, and I want to start by creating a new transformation over this Wikipedia data. So click New Transformation, and I'm going to select the sampled version of recent changes. I have the choice of either SQL or TypeScript, but today we're going to use SQL for our transformation, and I'll call this SQL demo users v1, and let's proceed to GitPod. So GitPod is it's an environment that we integrate with to make it really easy to spin up sort of ephemeral VS Code environments where the Flow CTL CLI is already available, and the tooling's all kind of set up so you can just continue, edit things in your browser without even needing to download our command line tooling. What has been created for me so far is I have some I named my derivation Johnny SQL demo users v1, and a specification was kind of created for me to help get me started in implementing my derivation. So there are a few components here. A derivation is a collection. It has a schema. This is a JSON schema. It has a key that that all the documents of this collection are grouped upon. And because this is a SQLite derivation, it also has one or more migrations that it can use, as well as one or more transforms. So my migration, because a SQLite derivation is running in the context of a full-fledged SQLite database, I'm able to create sort of internal task tables or views or triggers or anything else that's available within SQLite. I can create and use within my derivation. Transformations are the workhorse of the derivation. So a transformation is essentially reading from some collection of data, so in this case, recent changes, and is evaluating a Lambda function. So in the case of a SQLite transform, this is a block of SQL statements that are going to be evaluated every time a document is available from this recent change collection. So I need to do a couple of things here. First, I'm planning to, remember, we're building like a user-centric understanding of changes that are happening across Wikimedia. So I'm going to key my collection on user. So I'm just going to update this key here. So I'm schematizing that there's going to be a user property that is a string, and I'm keying my collection on that property. So now the next couple of things I need to do, I am trying to build an understanding of the changes a user is making over time from these individual sort of point changes of like a user, a page that was edited, and a time that it happened. So one of the things I'll need is I kind of need internal tables that I can use to understand what a user has done in the past that I can reference essentially within my Lambda function. So I have a stub implementation that was generated for me just to get me going. I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And what I'm going to create first is a users table. So this table essentially is keyed off of the user ID and tracks the first time I saw that user and the total number of edits that that user's made. And then another table that I want is a user pages table. So this is tracking for a given user and page, what is the last time that this page was edited by this user. So this is essentially the pages that a user has changed and when they last changed them. So that's it for my migration right now. I just need these two tables of users and the pages that they've changed. So let's hop over to the Lambda function. So again, the Lambda is evaluated every time there is a change document coming from Wikipedia. So what I'm looking at right now is a stub query that was generated for me. This is just to give me a sense of what values are available for me to look at from these documents. I'm going to get rid of it here because we're going to write our own thing. And the first thing we're going to do is we need to update that users table to understand what users we've seen and when's the first time we saw them. So this is a SQLite upsert statement. So I'm inserting into users and I'm inserting the current user ID and the current timestamp of the change that's coming from the Wikipedia, coming from Wikipedia. And on conflict to update, this is essentially what makes it a upsert statement. So if the user already exists, what I'm doing instead is I'm just incrementing the total number of edits that I've seen from this particular user. These $sign parameters are placeholders that get filled out with every document that is coming from Wikipedia. So every time this Lambda is evaluated, it's evaluated with these placeholders that get updated and reflect the actual content of the document that's being evaluated by this Lambda. So I want to insert into users, and I also want to insert into user pages. So this is basically tracking the different pages that a user is changing over time. And again, this is also an upsert statement. So if the user, it's common for users to edit pages multiple times. So we just want to track the last time that this user edited this page. And then finally, the user pages table could grow to be pretty large. We're not actually interested in every single page the user has ever edited. For this example, we're just going to track sort of the 3 most recent pages that a user has edited. So what I'm going to do here is I'm pruning or removing from user pages. I'm identifying pages which are least recently updated. So I'm finding pages which are not in the top 3 most recent changed pages for this user, and I'm removing them from user pages. So user pages, for each user pages will have the 3 most recent pages that they've changed. One important thing to point out is this is the 3 most recent changes for that user. It doesn't matter if those changes happened a month ago. If they are the most recent users, the most recent changes for that user, then they're still tracked by the derivation. So it's not like this is, within a 24-hour window or something like that. This is a persistent database that will track page changes indefinitely. So it doesn't matter if it was a week ago, a month ago, a year ago. They're still going to be available in this user pages table. So these statements are changing internal tables, but they're not actually outputting anything yet. So I need one more query here, which is the actual output of my derivation. This is joining users and user pages and sort of formatting and grabbing recent pages and smushing them together into a nice string formatting that we can push into Google Sheets. And again, I'm filtering on user here. So now that I've completed implementing my Lambda, I hope, I want to try it out. I want to see what it actually looks like over actual collection data from Wikipedia. So I can do that inside of this VS Code environment using the CLI tooling. If I just pop open my terminal here, I'm going to run this command flowctl preview, and I'm passing in my flow specification, and I'm using JQ just to clean it up and colorize it a little bit. But I'm going to run this to see the actual output of my my derivation. So we'll let this run, and there are a couple of things to point out here. So this is processing over all the historical data of this collection. So we end up seeing a pretty wide span of timestamps. So, for example, we have a user here where the first time we saw them was a month ago, and most recently we saw them today. May 9th is the day I'm recording this. And we also see sort of the recent pages that they've edited with kind of some new line string formatting, as well as the total number of edits that the user has made. So this command, we managed to completely process all the historical data of the collection. And what we're seeing being added at the bottom here is ongoing updates that are happening in real time from changes that are happening on Wikimedia right now. So this looks pretty good to me. I'm pretty happy with the output of this derivation. So there's one more thing that we need to do. Now, collections in Flow are schematized. Flow needs to understand what the schema of the collection is in order to map that schema into other kinds of schema representations, whether that's a database table that's being materialized into, or the individual columns of a Google Sheet that we care about. So far, my schema doesn't have much in it. I just have the user. I've essentially said that this document definitely has a user property, and I'm not really asserting anything else about these documents. I need to lock this down a little bit more. I want to incorporate first seen and last seen and recent pages and total edits and so on. So I can either write this out myself in the schema. Another tool that I have is I can run infer schema. So what this is going to do is it's running this preview command again, but this time it's going to update the schema for me based on the actual observed output of my derivation. So I'll just Control-C that. And if we pop back over to this flow.yaml, we see that the schema has now been updated. So I see, first seen, last seen, recent pages, and so on. All of the JSON schema has been written for me for the actual output of my derivation. So that's it. I'm pretty happy with this now. I'm going to go ahead and publish this to the Flow control plane so it can run for me. So I'm running this flowctl catalog publish command, and I'm going to tell it to go ahead and set this derivation live for me. Okay, so I'm back in the Flow dashboard. I can see the collection that I just created, the derivation right here. I would like to materialize this into a Google Sheet because that's where I want to work with it. So I'm going to do that by creating a new materialization, and I'm going to choose the Sheets connector. And I have a spreadsheet that I've created over here. This is an empty spreadsheet with nothing in it so far. I'm going to go ahead and copy the URL. And then let's give this a name. So I'm going to call it Johnny SQL demo users, or user v1. And I'm going to paste in the spreadsheet URL right here. And then I need to OAuth with Google in order to allow Flow to make changes to the spreadsheet on my behalf. So I'm just doing that right now. That's great. Now it's authenticated. And finally, I'm going to pick the collection, so users v1, that I want to materialize. So that looks good. Let's get this going. So I'm going to save and publish. Looks like that's going to succeed. Okay, I published my materialization, and I now see that there's a new sheet in my Google Sheet over here, users v1. So this is basically, there's a row for each user making changes to Wikimedia. And it can be a little hard to tell just because there are so many rows, but this is actually updating live as users are making changes. So just to show that off a little bit more, I'm going to create another sheet over here where I'm basically just going to take this sheet and I'm going to sort it by the last scene for the user. So this will basically show, because when users make changes, it updates that last scene. So we'll see changes that are being made a little more clearly, in this particular sheet. So if we watch this for a moment, we will basically see new rows come in as users are making changes to Wikimedia as they're updating these pages.